Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. The topic of today was something I mentioned in another earlier video about steroids, and this is the recommendation that your first cycle should be orals only for just a few weeks to test the waters, and here I will explain my idea of why that is the right idea in many cases. So, first, my best recommendation is not even to get into any of this mess at all. You've hopefully watched, and if you haven't, give them a look, all of our previous videos on steroids, which for now, as of the recording this video, is how much muscle can you grow? Just natty. How much muscle can you grow from steroids? What are the differences between natural and enhanced training? How does steroid use affect your diet? And how steroids harm you? And you probably concluded rightly that you won't be using them. Best choice for almost everyone, not quite everyone, but almost, officially recommended by Renaissance Periodization that you do not use steroids, and by yours truly as well, for real. But what if you're still in? Okay, there's a small fraction of you, very tiny fraction. You've put in 10 years of natty training and diet, as I recommend, before you consider starting. You're informed, you're committed, and you're ready to dip your toe in. And here's the thing. Dipping your toe in is, I think in this case, a very great expression for this specific instance of trying steroids, because dipping the toe in the pool, right? You don't know if the water is too cold, right? That's why you're not jumping in with your whole body, because a lot of cold blows and just dipping your toe is not that terrible. What if the water's too hot? What if the water is full of crocodile shark hybrids? That's nothing you want, because not only do they have the bite force of sharks and the swimming dexterity of sharks, but they also have the little croc limbs. Though I don't know if crocs ever use their limbs for anything combat related. In any case, the scales and the tail, it's awful, right? So before you go into water that you don't know anything about, you dip the toe. Now, before you fucking nerds say that, well, if you dip your toe, the croc pulls you in, yeah, fine, I get it. But if you jump in, motherfucker for sure pulling you in. So better to dip than to just get in there, because we've all seen the movies where like the teen girls are in the lake and they're like, oh my God, Brandon, come in, it's so awesome. And he's like, I don't know, you guys, this lake look kind of dangerous. I'm like, come on, it's fun. Huh. Oh my God, my leg, something pulled on my leg. It's like, oh my God, Jessica, stop it. Croc sharks. I should be a fucking movie director. Producer? Writer? Scott, who does the creative shit in a movie?
You could be the writer.
Writer. Screenwriter.
Screenwriter.
Yeah, that sounds Hollywood. In any case, starting almost everything slowly is a wise idea, especially shit that can really fuck you, like crocodile sharks and steroids, which can for sure really fuck you. It's a good idea to ease into steroids if you're going to do them at all. This exposes you to minimal risk, and it really tests your individual response to steroids, to drugs, so that you can back off, be like, fuck that, that's not for me, or push ahead if it really is for you without paying a huge cost up front. Now, how not to ease in is to take the standard Reddit advice, no offense, Redditors, you're great for many other things, of, like fucking start injecting 250 to 500 mgs a test for 16 weeks, or like fucking D-ball front load, stupid shit like that. And all, per the forums, you got to have PCT on hand for sides. It's all about what you have on hand. That's how you do real internet cycles. There are problems with this approach of just starting injectable drugs. I counted at least 6 of these problems. First, you have to inject stuff into your body. The needle is very long. It is very scary. You got to pull out of a vial. You got to put the shit in your body. There's blood. It hurts. It always blows. Trust me. Always blows. It just blows a little bit less over years. So the first several months is going to be fucking awful. Unless you're needle happy, it's terrible. It's nothing you want to have to do, especially when you're just exploring, right? It's kind of like the difference between like, hey, do you want a shot of alcohol at a party to see if you're like, you're 22 or 21 and it's your first drink? Or you want to take a shot or a mixed drink? Or do you want to like inject alcohol into your blood? Like, what the fuck? Fuck that. Like, give me a shot. Let's start out slow. Second point. If you start this injection of testosterone, you won't feel much for multiple weeks. So it looks like, I guess I'm using steroids, don't know what's happening. And so that sucks. For 4 to 6 weeks, only 4 to 6 weeks later will you feel like the full power of the drugs that are in your body. So you got to wait a while to even see if it's fucking worth your time. And if you don't like what's going on, like let's say you get some health problems, crazy acne, psychoanxiety or something like that, which is pretty common, you'll have to put up with it for like at least 2 or 3 weeks, even if you stop cold turkey right then and there, because like testosterone ester is like an anthocyanate, which is typically what you start with in this not so great idea model. Then you just, they digest or break down really slowly in your bloodstream and in the compartment in the muscle in which you inject them and the bolus. And then it just for 2 or 3 weeks, you still feel like shit. So when you're really anxious and you're like, dude, I can't be on these drugs anymore. Get me out of here. Okay. You skip your next injection. You're like, I still feel fucking awful. And be like, oh yeah, but you got another fucking, 2 or 3 weeks of feeling a little bit less like shit every few days. Fuck that. Right. Next up, if you catch shit early and you stop, because you probably won't catch anything for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, you're still getting your natural test production shut down. And that's going to feel like shit. And it can take weeks to renorm back to normal, possibly longer in some cases. And that's when you actually need stupid PCT and all that other bullshit in real life. And it's just a whole big mess you might not have to get yourself into. So my advice is to do something like the following. If you're insistent on doing this and it's legal in your country, et cetera, and you're not cheating at sports, you can start with an oral like Anavar, which is one of the safest drugs that they have. That doesn't mean it's safe, it's the safest. At like 20 to 40 milligrams per day. By the way, this advice is exclusively for males. I'll get into the female stuff in a bit. For like 3 or 4 weeks. So like 20 to 40 mgs of Anavar per day for 3 or 4 weeks. Females, the advice is much different. It's not just less Anavar. It's altogether different. Do not do the above. Google Joe Jeffrey Physique Collective. He specializes in this kind of thing. Give that a look, and it'll sort you well on your way. All right. So what are the upsides of doing something like this instead of starting to inject long ester testosterone? First, you don't have to inject shit. You just swallow a pill twice a day, AM, PM. Easiest fucking thing in the world. Second, you will feel the effects within a few days. You feel orals faster typically. And within just about a week or so, you'll feel kind of the full power of the orals. It doesn't mean they're going to give you all the benefits right away, but psychologically and in the gym, you'll feel like, oh, okay, shit's happening, right? And you don't have to wait 3 to 4 weeks. It's just like a week, which if shit goes south, you can cut faster. To that end, if you don't like what's going on and you stop taking the Anavar, just a few days later, you don't feel any of the bad things anymore. Okay, so if you like really have super high anxiety from the shit, which is not uncommon, you stop taking it, a few days later, you're totally fine, which is with the injectable testosterone, it's going to fucking take weeks, and that's awful. So if you catch shit early and you don't like what you see, a week after taking Anavar or something like that, you're probably not getting your natural testosterone production shut down in any meaningful sense that doesn't take a couple days to come back. Nor do you have to put up with unwanted side effects for too long, which would be its own bad thing, right? Anxiety, depression, sexual dysfunction happens, anger, ultra high blood pressure, back pumps, acne, all this kind of shit happens from steroids within the first several weeks. And if you catch it early and cut it off, it can stop without you having to be like, oh shit, this shit is in my bloodstream for another 2-3 weeks. And I'm just getting more of the same for a while. Even if you do the entire 4 weeks of the cycle and you stop cold turkey, in most cases, within a few weeks later, full testosterone, serum testosterone is back, okay, or very close to full. Now, in some cases, if you read the research literature, some people take a long time. Some people never get their testosterone back normal. Those are very, very unlikely. So mostly it's fine. Most of the people who have ever dabbled with orals aren't like, yeah, man, whenever it came off, hasn't been the same. It's just not how it works. So you basically, in most cases, with something like Anavar, 20 to 40 mgs for a male for 3 to 4 weeks, when you come off, you just kind of feel normal after you come off. And there's not this like, oh man, 5 days after I'm like sleeping 12 hours a day, my dick won't get hard. It's just not a very common experience. Whereas if you come off cold turkey of like a 5 or 6 week cycle of testosterone, because it took you until week 3 or 4 to even feel much, and then you're like, oh fuck, I don't like this, you pull it out, you're going to be in for maybe a month or 2 of not feeling your best. Not a great trade-off, if you ask me. And you did. That's why you're watching this video. So what do you do after 3 or 4 weeks is over? Let's say you have a net positive experience. What do? You can't keep running orals because they're not so great for your liver. Also, running orals for forever, it's just not the greatest way, certainly health-wise and money-wise and overall anabolic throughput-wise, it's just not the best. So you don't continue to do that, but you can switch to injectables like testananthate or something like that. Maybe some primobolan in addition to that, depending on how you do things. Again, that's a Brado Chavez, Joe Jeffrey question. And you either plan to come off in 16 to 20 weeks later, or you do indefinite ramp, blast cruise, that sort of thing. If you have a negative experience, like you're like, fuck that, that was terrible, with the 3 to 4 week orals only cycle, you can try it again in 2 months, because all your shit's probably back to normal, with a different phase, like let's say you try during cutting, maybe you try during massing, or you try during massing, you try during cutting, with a different compound, with a different training phase, like you tried it during a strength phase, but maybe you should try during a hypertrophy phase, or just a different dose of the same compound. Like you tried 40 milligrams of VAR and you got like really great pumps, but not so great anxiety. And maybe you try it again a few months later with 20 milligrams and the pumps are almost as good, but the anxiety is like 0. Then you're winning. And then after that, you may be able to go back up in the slide and get 16 to 20 weeks and get into the real shit, the injectable. Or you can just not hit the shit for years and years and maybe come back to it later. Or you could just not do it ever. Because frankly, for your overall quality of life, steroids are overrated as fuck. And take it from me, I have a clone in another universe that's using them. Folks, like, subscribe, comment, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time. Excited? Gonna use your first steroid cycle? Hold up. Click on this shit right here. It talks about all the bad shit steroids do to you. If you can make it through that video and still be excited, kudos.